Good morning, guys. Friday morning minutes with Lisa and Mark Novak. Today, we're going to talk about a question that's asked continuously: why there's so many buyers in the marketplace at the moment. We're going to talk about that this morning.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Well,
Who's
Friday
got,
again.
who's got all the
Friday again.
answers?
Mark, you're sitting there in the dark. I can't see you.
Weird, eh?
Yeah, it's really weird.
Who's got all the answers?
Look, nobody, but it's a question that is just getting asked all the time at the moment. Every single appraisal that I'm doing, I'm saying to the vendors, guys, get your property on the market now because there is just a buyer overload. And they're like, buyer overload? Well, why? Every single time I do an appraisal, it just doesn't make sense. 11 interest rate rises in 12 months, and we're seeing more buyers than we've seen in over a year in the market, as in an abundance of buyers.
It's weird. And you know what? Everyone thinks the government's got the answers. RBA's got the answer. They don't have the answer. They're
No.
reactive to what's happening in the marketplace. They're doing the best they can. It's counterintuitive. I was watching yesterday the luxury market. There was a property that was on the market for 2021. Came up on my feed. 15 million. Didn't sell. Just sold now for 22.
I saw that, yeah, in Vaucluse.
And it's like,
Beautiful
really?
home.
Like, look, lovely home, but it's a sign of the times. Like that's a, 6 million. It's 30% more.
Yeah, and
In
it's very,
a time when interest rates are higher.
it's crazy. So today, guys, we want to just address why there's so many buyers in the marketplace. And then I want to talk about an interview that I saw with Harry Triguboff as well, which was amazing. So we'll talk about that toward the end of the show. But I want to just talk to you guys briefly about why we're seeing so many buyers in the marketplace. Because you look at the news and you just go, oh my God, like 11 interest rate rises in 12 months. Yet we're seeing more buyers than we've seen in over a year. Now, when I say more buyers, guys, I'm saying at some of my properties that I'm opening for inspection, I will turn up and I've got buyers lining up down the street. We're getting 30 plus groups coming through properties at the moment. What is normal, just to give you guys a gauge, what we were seeing if we rewind toward the end of last year, because that was probably the bottom of the market, we were lucky. We were lucky if we got half a dozen groups through. Now we're seeing 30 plus groups coming through open homes. So let's talk about why. The buyers, from what they're telling us, because I ask the buyers, I'm like, why are all of you guys turning up to open homes? The interest rates, we've had 11 of them in 12 months, likely are going to come to an end very soon if they haven't already. That's number one. That's the prediction, wouldn't you say, Mark?
Yep. CBA said two up. Chief economist, 2 up by this year, and then by the end of the year they should come down.
So the buyers know that. They know that it's not just this, how many more are there going to be? They know that they're nearing the end, if they haven't come to the end already, of those interest rate rises. That's number one. The buyers also tell us that they know that once those interest rates stabilise and then come off, as per the predictions, property prices likely are going to go up significantly. Right?
I don't get why rates go up 11 times and it punishes the market. Then the market starts doing better. It just doesn't make sense. It's almost like it's counterintuitive, because you're thinking, hang on a sec, rates were sitting at 2%. They are sitting at 5 or 6% now. That is going to punish the property market. it has punished the
Yeah.
property market.
Yeah, but you're
And
yeah,
it's
but you're
like,
forgetting.
why is, and it's like, why isn't it doing it now? So I'm surely people are looking around in the marketplace going, I don't believe you that there's a lot of agents, there's a lot of buyers out there, Mr. Agent. But then they see the sales price results and they're going, whoa, actually, yeah, it's counterintuitive. It's very counterintuitive.
Yeah, but but you're forgetting something. Every buyer is trying to time where the bottom of the market is, and that's where they want to buy. Now, no one knows this. No one knows where the bottom of the market is. There's no date in our diaries. So, but they now know that the bottom of the market has been and gone. So they're getting in quickly before it's too late because interest rates went up, but property prices came down significantly. So you're still better off to buy in this market. We across the Northern Beaches, property prices went up 30% and came down 20%. So you got the 20% discount, and the buyers know it, and they're trying to get in before the market starts to pick back up again. And it is definitely picking back up. We've seen it in sales results, Mark.
So I don't get why rates are so high and buyers are paying more. Like, why isn't the rates just went up? Everyone knows it takes 3 months before the rates to take full effect on a marketplace. We know that the full pain of that rate rise will be felt in 3 months' time from when it just went up. Like, surely, how does the property market do better after that?
Because the buyers got the discount. They got the discount of 20%. So they now know that the property market's going to start to come up. So that's one of the reasons why we're seeing an abundance of buyers in the market. There you go. There's the data. That's for
That's
DY.
12 months.
Wow.
12
Wow.
months units.
We haven't seen the incline for quite some time.
It's a bloody
Okay, there you
incline.
go.
Sorry,
Look at it.
DY houses. Sorry, DY houses.
Okay, let's have a look at apartments.
It's
And
definitely an
understand,
incline.
guys, data is slow. Data is slow. There you go.
Data is
We
6
have
weeks
not
slow.
seen- Yeah,
Look
it
at that.
is.
Look
I
at that.
agree.
Look at that. Right there. Right there. Right there. Right
There
there.
it is. Yeah. Yeah, there it is. So that speaks volumes. I mean, the numbers, they don't lie. So we've
10
talked about
years.
the interest rates, and
10
now
years.
let's address. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
The
that's
roll,
10
the
years.
roll, the
Hey,
rolling hills
get
of
this.
data.
Get this, Lise. This is going to blow your mind. How much have units gone up in 10 years in DY? I bet you're going to be wrong.
How much have units gone up in 10 years in DY? I reckon they have
I bet you're going to be wrong.
Okay, hang on. Would they have doubled and maybe doubled again?
All right, we'll get this. And I want everyone to understand how important this metric is. Sydney CBD sells 300-400 units a year. DY sells 500 or 600 units a year. It's a bloody big suburb. It's important. It's almost there's heaps more units in DY. You reckon double and double?
I'm just guessing. I know DY has performed really, really well. Let's have a look.
Okay. So if you bought something for, can I use $1 million as an example? Okay, let's use 500,000 as an example.
Yeah.
You reckon it's gone to $1 million, and then you reckon it's gone to another 50% on top of that, so 1.5.
From 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yep.
It's done half
Tell
that.
us, Mark.
It's done half that.
Oh wow.
So if you bought something in DY for $1 million, it would now be worth 1.7. It's only done 70% in 10 years. DY, and Lise, you're doing the most amount of volume DY. It just shows people's perception, agents, buyers, sellers. It's very different to the reality. The reality is we haven't had a huge amount of growth in most suburbs, particularly with units in Sydney. And that market correcting, in my opinion, has left room for the animal to grow.
Oh, I
It's
agree.
not. It's not overcooked. It's not overcooked.
But we also saw at some stages we saw an oversupply in DY because
Absolutely.
there was an enormous amount of developing, and we've completely come off topic. And I do want to get back to why we're seeing so many buyers. But we saw an oversupply for many years there in DY. And if you think about DY, guys, as Alexandria, which is another suburb in Sydney, where we saw an explosion of apartments and development, that was DY for some time. You would drive up and down the main arterial road on Pittwater Road, and you would just see apartments going up everywhere. It felt like it was we just had developers everywhere, but it was all happening along that main road there. Mark, I want to just push
Alex,
back to the topic of why we're seeing so many buyers in the market. Um,
I reckon we're seeing buyers in the market, more buyers in the market, because it is a roof over people's heads. It is bread and water. It is shelter. It is sleep. It is
but why wasn't
exercise.
that the
It
case
is
6 months ago?
because that you can abstain it. So you
We
can
were only
abstain
seeing a
from
very
you can
small amount of numbers.
you can abstain from sleep, but you've got to catch up eventually. So when it happened in COVID, we saw people abstain again doing from shelter, and then they exploded straight after. So people think they can put property selling, buying off, and they're right, they can, but that volume is going to happen at a later point. It will happen, and I think the sheer fact that people are irrelevant to the emotional, to politics and economies and stock markets and stuff. People just look at it 101, real simple. What do I need and can I afford it? And they're looking at property at the moment saying, what do I need? Irrelevant to the rates, irrelevant to the media and what everyone's saying. And,
Yeah.
do I need it? Yep. This is what I need. And can I afford it? Yep. So it's just coming down to fundamental sense.
We've also had, rents have gone up. So, a lot of buyers that were renters were
Yeah,
saying, if I'm
spot
going to
on.
pay that amount of money for rent, I can actually own my own property and pay that off,
Yep,
even with the
yep.
interest rates, because they also got the 20%-ish discount. As you can see, property prices are definitely on their way up. But we're seeing very short supply. We're seeing very, very short supply of properties.
And also, you want to create your own destiny. Like, I think people have been hit with the ugly stick with rent, and they're just going, you know what? I don't want to be hit like that again. I'm going to control my destiny. I'm going to buy. Can I? Yes. Bang.
Yeah. Yep. So the interview with Harry Triguboff was an interesting one, guys, and we might actually pop it onto our socials. He was being interviewed by a journalist about the interest rate rises, and he seemed to suggest that the RBA can continue putting interest rates up. It's not going to help inflation. It's not going to help get inflation under control. It's a really good interview. The guy is in his early 90s. The brain is just phenomenal on this man. But his solution to inflation is to build vertically. And he said development across the country really came to a stop. A lot of builders went under, a lot of developers went under. And so his solution is keep building apartments and keep building housing. He reckons that's the solution to inflation. And I tell you, he rarely gets it wrong, Mark. The delivery method can be a little bit, unappetizing at times.
It's just what you expect the biggest developer in Australia to say.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
but
like,
you know what?
and the sad thing is, if it was true, you wouldn't believe it because of his position and his title. And I actually think everything that comes out of the guy's mouth is true. I don't know. I'm a bit of a fan of him, but it's just so cliche. You can't expect, Australia's biggest developer say anything, but it feeds, people, lawyers, insurance companies, builders, plumbers, electricians. That property market underpins a shit ton of industries, and it has a reach far and wide. So he's probably right.
And that's the thing, like you watch the interview and you're like, oh my God, like, you can imagine people sitting there like swearing at their TV, just going, you know, as if of course you're going to say that. That's ridiculous. And then, you know, often these people prove everyone wrong. You're like, you know what? He was crazy, but he was right. So it was very interesting. But he reckons that's the solution to everything. Interest rates, inflation, housing, build them vertically, get them up and get the people housed. And it's very affordable luxury housing. We're big fans of Meriton. This is not a paid advertisement. We sold a lot of Meriton DY Lighthouse. And, you know, getting the buyers there was always hard, wasn't it, Mark? They were like, nah, don't want Meriton.
We just like literally, but the amount of, it was the most negative product I ever had to sell. And it was the most positive product I ever had to sell. It was so negative on the way in to exchange. And then after settlement, when people moved in and the years rolled out, it was the most positive experience I've ever had in property. So it is, it's people have got it wrong. Anyone who has bought in the Meriton building has made a lot of money. I know it's not all about making money, but it's done well. The asset's done well, and the people who live there have loved it. The neighbours around it have loved it. It's the happiest place on earth.
I call DY Meriton Lighthouse the happiest place on earth when I'm showing buyers through there. It's really tightly held stock. But I know whenever I've taken buyers in there, they're like, nah. Do not want to buy. Do not take me there.
Concrete jungle.
Like, just come and look. And then they go through and they're like, oh, I didn't realise. Wow, I didn't realise it was all this. They just got it right.
Yeah, but it's pretty spiky, the perception of that stuff. So anyway, how does that change with you know his opinion of the market? I guess, you know, people have got to rent somewhere, and it's a perfect solution. He generally built them in areas of infrastructure. They're needed in those areas of infrastructure, so he'll do them in cores of cities and towns and stuff like that that they need it.
But the people didn't want it. The people didn't want it. So the people of DY in the Northern Beaches were saying, no, we do not want this big high rise. We do not want this style of development. But here we are now. Yeah, we're probably 4 years down the line, 4 or 5 years down the line. With
do you know the biggest winner of this sort of stock's retirees, because they want to walk to the shops, level walk to transport, easy to get in the rain. Oldies love it. The other opportunity that oldies got is a retirement village, all these aged cares, and you will pay through the nose. And I reckon you actually, with all due respect, I reckon you die quicker. A Meriton product to move into, for example, is great for a retiree. They can lock up and travel. They're with the community that they're within the buildings, not all aged, so they don't age, but they still got a community. And don't forget the aged care takes a lot of your asset when you leave the earth. So they will. It's like $1 million bond to get in. And they can eat half of the asset.
To an aged care you're talking about.
To an aged care, sorry, and they can eat out. They can eat half the asset when you get out of it. You know, something like a Meriton, you own it. The levies aren't high, and off you go.
And that's often the perception as well. You know, people, whenever I introduce Meriton, they're hard to get, guys. It's very tightly held stock. But whenever I introduce it to a buyer, they go, oh, those strata rates must be enormous, because you're thinking there's hundreds of these apartments, but they're actually not. They're so well run. You know, for a big 3-bedroom apartment in Meriton, you can be paying circa $1,400 to $1,500 a quarter in strata. But for that, you're getting a pool, a gym, lifts, gardens, barbecue areas. Honestly, again, not a paid advertisement, guys, but a big advocate. And I agree with what you're saying, Mark, on the aged care. Mark's having a yawn. It's 8 o'clock in the morning.
I had cards with
the boys last night.
We had 10 lads. We played cards last night, and they didn't leave till midnight.
Yeah, that's good.
It was worth it, though.
All right,
Yeah.
I think that's a wrap, guys. We're at 20 minutes. That is the show. So
That
why
went
all the
quick.
buyers? Why all the buyers? Just to recap, why we're seeing so many buyers, it doesn't make sense when interest rates are up because property prices came down. The buyers now know the bottom of the market has been and gone. Stock levels are very, very low in supply. People know interest rates are coming to an end now, likely. That's certainly all the predictions. And in addition to that, rents are high. So buyers are saying, well, if I'm going to pay that much in rent, I may as well go out and buy something. So that's it in a nutshell. Is it going to continue this way? While we see stock levels this low, likely it will. And, you know, as Mark showed on those RP data graphs, property prices on the beaches are certainly on their way up. And I think that's in most parts of Sydney. We just heard at the beginning of the show about the big Vaucluse sale as well. There's been quite a few of those. There we go. That's the show.
Lo-
All right,
love
guys.
you. Bye.
Have a great day.
Love you. Love you, world. Bye. Bye.